Alright, Shalom. This is a part two, a continuation from what I was getting into because my phone had technical difficulties. I'm currently uploading part one as we speak, but I am on part two right now. Um, Going back to what I was saying, yeah, the response I was making regarding, that raid, I did make the mention how. Anyways, the E superpowers, primarily China, have been constructing stuff and making deals with Venezuela and South America. This had long since scared America. Anyways, Trump raided the country to take over and limit Eastern influence as well as control the oil. Right, what's it called? Now, America having control of oil allows them to sell it at their pricing, thus, quote unquote, helping Venezuela, but really the American economy. And that's because since 2025, Trump has been talking about his America First doctrine, which is to focus and boost the American economy so it can remain the number one strongest superpower in the world. Um, what's it called? You look at the global superpowers right now. There's a website. Current global superpowers are primarily the United States, China, and Russia, recognized for the dominant military strength, economic scale, he was in China, and significant geopolitical influence with India, the European Union, Japan, and the UK, also considered major powers or emerging contenders, especially in tech and economy. The US leads in military spending and technology, while China leads in population, manufacturing, and economic output by some measure, with both vying for technological and economic dominance. Um, but I'm on the worldpopulationreview.com website, and this thing is acting up. Power rank, super status, number one, the United States. It has extent superpower. I'm not sure what that means, but it's number one. Let me no wait, why'd you do that? Oh, never. This thing is clearly bugging. Right. Um, but I was saying it could lead to World War III. Because not only did America just take over a South American country, but Trump wants to take over Greenland, which is Denmark territory. This will demolish NATO, and Germany ain't starting a war this time, probably, or maybe it will, because your country has expressed its approval of Trump's stupid actions of that raid. And considering World War I and World War II, I can see Germany getting ready to declare war on America. Okay, that's what I basically said. Because the person I was speaking to was German. She's a chick. Claim what's it called? You know, Germany has expressed its approval, and you know, more recent news would be 13 hours ago. Germany news: Wadeful plays down U.S. threat to Greenland. um, right? Because I heard something about that. I really didn't investigate though. Maybe this might be it though. Okay, I'm not finding anything regarding it. Okay, here's one from 10 hours ago. Majority say Germany should support Denmark militarily in case of U.S. attack on Greenland. A majority of 52% of respondents said that Germany should offer military support to NATO ally Denmark if the U.S. were to attack Greenland, according to a survey published in Stern magazine on Tuesday. And you go back to what's it called? World War I and World War II. What's it called? Or maybe I'm thinking about World War One, not World War II. The mainstream understanding goes that what's it called? Germany was there to help, but then they got the blame on them, right? I'm gonna get a clarification on that. A book server with me. World War II, Germany initially helped out their friend, and then got the blame for the entirety of the war. World War One. All right, the original group project where one guy did a lot, everyone panicked, and then Germany got handed the bill and attention forever. I'm on ChatGPT, by the way. Short version is history loves irony. Austria-Hungary's Archduke gets assassinated. Austria wants to smack Serbia. Germany says we got your back. With the infamous blank check, alliances cascade like dominoes, and suddenly Europe is on fire. Germany fights hard, loses, and then the Treaty of Versailles points a finger and says, "This is all on you." War guilt clause, massive reparations, territorial losses, national humiliation, really international. Cue resentment, economic collapse, and then the slow cooking of World War II. Right? So, really, what's it called? Germany was there for its allies, defend them, and then they got the blame on them. Well, you know, what's it called? I can have been speculating that certain so and so front's gonna lead World War Three, so and so front's gonna lead World War Three. Really, this is all going to that third war for sure, right? If anything, this is basically, as Mark Twain made the mention, not the repetition of history, but more so of rhyming, right? What's it called? Similar parallels. Germany talking about, hey, we should support Denmark the way he tried to, support what's it called, its homie back in World War I. Militarily in case the U.S. attack on Greenland, and why? Because what's it called? Trump's been threatening, talking about what's it called, taking over Greenland. I'll go back to my news right quick, to the news thing. Jumping down to how was it? I think it was 1/11/2026 news. And if not, then that's all right. But basically, oh yeah, come on. So it's 1/11/2026 on the war and conflict section. One of the articles I did summarize on political commentator Tucker Carlson has repeatedly argued that U.S. actions in foreign policy, particularly aggressive moves like the push to acquire Greenland from a NATO ally, could undermine the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, which is what NATO is an abbreviation for, and escalate tensions with major powers, suggesting that such actions might erode collective security and risk broader conflict. This commentary also reflects skepticism about framing Russia as America's primary enemy and warns against entanglement in wars that could escalate into global confrontation. Though these views are interpretive commentary rather than assessments from official intelligence or strategic institutions, well, from divine intelligence, really the men of the mouse of the men of Great Millstone, which I'm not a part of, which so I follow there, follow them. I follow them. They have made mention now. Yeah, what's it called? Shit, what's it called? All of America's allies are gonna go against it. And one thing the other apostles of the heart have made known time and time again is that America always on their minds as allies. They talk shit about so and so country. We've seen it in the news articles in past years, and they get pissed off. Other countries get pissed off. Well, how about that for a factor playing into the part where everybody's gonna go against America. I'm gonna put y'all on Obadiah, put y'all on some Obadiah, right? First of all, Obadiah 1:1. The vision of Obadiah. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh concerning Edom. We have heard a rumor, again news, from the Lord, and an ambassador sent among the heathen. An ambassador pertaining to the prophets, right? Um, Starting off with the apostles and elders, right? Because an ambassador is sent on behalf of their what's it called superior, who is our superior, Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. He's a supreme spirit. He's the most high spirit. Thenceforth, he is our superior. Right, so we have heard a rumor from the Lord, Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahushua, and an ambassador, the prophets, is sent among the heathen. He's sent among the no, the prophets are sent among the heathen. And what is America known as? The great melting pot. Yeah, we got melting pots here and there. Mexico's a melting pot. You name it, what's it called? Why is melting pot? Shit, what's it called? Japan, But what is the great melting pot? America. Like, what's it called? You got that one song by, what do you call it? Schoolhouse Rock. I'm not sure. It was like this old, like 60s. I don't even know. It was like old animations, hand drawn animations where they would play songs like multiplication songs, like figure eight. That's how you ski or something like that. But there is one song, the child goes like, "America the Great Melting Pot, America the Great Melting Pot." Yeah, Schoolhouse Rock, the Great American Melting Pot song by Schoolhouse Rock Live. I'm gonna play a bit of it. Um, it goes like this. America was founded by the English, but also by the Germans, Dutch, and French. The principle still sticks. Our heritage is mixed. So any kid could be the president. And obviously, that's not freaking true. Because all of them have been Edomites. Yeah, what's it called? Obama. Man, that was that was an exception. But everything else has been freaking. What's it called? Esau Edom, right? But Esau's the deceitful liar. He says something, but is he really for you? Oh no, what's it called? They never trust an enemy, right? He talks about you could be president. Jake talk about being president only like 5 years old. Yeah, she also what's it called? When I grow up, I'm gonna be the president. That ain't gonna happen, because little something else. You're not an Edomite. And you gotta be an Edomite. You gotta be one of those high ranking ones shit too. In the know of certain things, right? But continuing on. Among the heathen, yeah. Again, if I didn't clarify, melting pot. I didn't clarify, so lack I didn't clarify it. To break it down, great melting pot pertains to, as the song insinuated, a so-called mixed heritage. Really, there's no mixed, race. That's a bullshit, doctrine Esau invented, right? Really, it's pedigree by the father. You are what your father is. The seed, right? The seed line. But more so when it goes in the melting pot, it pertains to a lot of cultures, influences, nations all combined into one, in one area, one group. And you go to in America, you have what's it called, Ammon down the block. You got Moab, what's it called, across the street. You got Elam in the street corner, in the gas station. You got what's it called, Esau over there, CEO. You got what's it called, the whole nine. You got all you got all nations here, bro. For a bit of story time, what's they call? I was in Mexico some years ago. And TJ and my family came over to visit. From Michoacan, and you got Levi down there. So-called Haitians. You got Levi and TJ. So they were sure like, what the? No way! This is my first time seeing a so-called Haitian. Because you don't got them down there. You know. you know. They're in prominent, influential places, right? And mega cities, right? What you call a polis, right? Um, megapolis. I forget you pronounce it. I forget the word, but they only ever see what's it called, other nations in the internet, right? And Netflix and movies and whatnot. Right, but you come here in America, you're surrounded by them, right? What's it called? You go to what's it called, a Nike shoe store. You don't only see Jay there, you see Moab there too. Right, what's it called? So that's what it means by melting pot. It's a conglomerate of every single nation combined. And you go to New York City, that's emphasized, man. You see that on a major scale, right? You got their flea markets. You got all nations. All nations make trade over there, man. What's it called? Continuing on, it's among the an ambassador is among the heathen. Really, it makes mention how the prophets are sent in America. That's really what it means, and really also any other country, because Jacob's scattered abroad big time, right? What's it called? So really, wherever we're scattered, first and foremost in America, and yeah, wherever we're scattered, because what's it called? You got camps in what's it called? UK. You got camps in Italy. So that's all. What's it called? Yeah, Jake. There's a lot of Jake there. I remember the other apostle told me to mention how a lot of Southern Italians also Jakes, right? Yeah. What's it called? Camps in Africa. Right? What's it called? Camps everywhere. You're surrounded by the heathen people too. Right? What's it called? I'm gonna pull out a quick precept. First Peter. Well, that's not the precept I'm looking for, but it still applies. First Peter 1, right? Um, chapter 1, verse 1. It doth mean Peter, an apostle of Yahweh Shai Mashiach, to the strangers scattered throughout Pontus, Galatia, Cappadocia, Asia, and Bithynia. Right, if I'm mistaken, that's Asia Minor. Now modern day Turkey. But the ancient geographical boundaries, political boundaries, if you will. And strangers really pertains to Israelite foreigners, right? You go back to the Greek word parepidemos, right? If I'm mistaken, that's how you pronounce it, parepidemos, something like that. Because I know you have certain teachings on the pronunciation. You have the reconstructed Koine, you have the Aramaic Koine pronunciations, and things like that. So they pronounce it differently. That's why when you read a book regarding how to read so-called New Testament Greek, really Koine Greek, or just Greek in general. You don't gotta emphasize the Koine part because it's still Greek, though it's a form of it. Um, the pronunciations that it teaches you may differ from the blue letter pronunciations when you have that speaker, right? That guy speaking, they sound different because they got different pronunciations for it. But pronunciations don't freaking matter, right? The point is you get the understanding across, the truth across, right? So really, strangers go back to Israelite foreigners, right? Someone dwelling in the side of the natives, not native. They're not native to that land, dwelling beside it. Right? Who are the natives in that context? The heathen. So you got Jake leaving the land, moving over here, over there. With the heathen, mingling with the heathen, and then you got the speckled birds, right? I don't pull that priest out. I always say it. Jeremiah 12:9, my inheritance is unto me as a speckled bird, right? Because what they call, one thing about genetics is that after a course of several generations, you know, the most melanated looking Jake could end up looking like the most, what's it called, Edomite looking person, right? We believe through the spirit of faith that Eminem is a Jake, right? Dude's had freaking hits for decades, man. You search up his earliest song mentioned, and it's like a radio station song. I forget what you call it, but he's like 15 years old at the time. Yeah, how old is he right now? Right now he's 53 years old. He was born in 1972. He's about to be 54 this year in October. But shit, what's it called? Since he was like 15 years 15 years old, man, he's been making hits. And what's it called? And that's the soul. Yeah, I wish I spoke about the soul. You are the soul of the earth, right? What's it called? Jay got talent. Salt means talent. They got flavor. They got that flavor. But his father, man, you look at his father. He looks like a who has Edomite. Right? What's it called? He looks like an Edomite, but really that's an Israelite. That's Jake. That's Jake. Believe it or not. You know, and that's an example. That's an example. By the way, Evan, I'm your artist. But as an example, we want to show you how you know you could look like the most melanated looking Jake. After, of course, several generations, you look like a plain Edomite. You look like a plain Moabite. What's it called? There's that newer rapper. Skies are God. Right, this guy looks like a Moabite. I believe to the spirit that guy's Jake. He's been making bops. He's been making bops, man. He's been making hits. Right, home to bit outside, balls on sheep won't call you pie. Right, home to bit outside, balls on sheep won't call you pie. Shang Lu gong to buy, John Lan Sai Kai Bai Huang Pai. Shang Sun Bai Sun Bai. Right, so he's speaking what's it called? I think that's Cantonese. He's a so-called Chinese rapper, but I believe to the spirit. I believe to the spirit and speaking humility. I speak in humility. I believe that guy's an Israelite, right? I saw him a while ago. What's the name out? That's right. Open. So what's it called? You got Jay looking like everybody. Yeah, that's right. I'm gonna go back to the, yeah, because I brought out First Peter. That's not the preacher that I really wanted though. I wanted to pull out one precept. I forget. I think it's Jeremiah. Yeah, yeah. Perfect. Matthew 24, 31. And he shall send his angels, right, with the great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together as elect from the four with but how? The chariots. And what have the men spoken of? Chariots are also angels themselves. How about that for some trippiness? Thenceforth, making the emphasis on, I believe it was Marx, but now stated, reality is stranger than fiction, because people live in they live in blissful ignorance. They're conditioned to think a certain way. Going back to what that one idea of Descartes made the mention how if you're conditioned to certain to like certain influences, certain thoughts, that becomes a reality. Therefore, the people really don't know shit. That's why what's it called when we speak the things the things written of thereof in the scriptures, and the other apostle took heart strength off of them, and he'd be meditating and he'd be coming up with these grand thoughts, grandiose thoughts. Whenever some Jake down the street listens to the things we have to say, they start tripping out. They talk about, oh, you're a crackhead, man. He's onto something. No, he's smoking something. Yes, those memes right there. They unifying, mocking, ridiculing the prophets for the things they think they speak. It sounds crazy to them because they don't know it. They're not accustomed to it. They're accustomed to simple low level folly. Else, why would Proverbs 101 make the Proverbs not 101 Proverbs the first chapter does make the mention now. Oh, ye simple, how long will you love simplicity? That's some simple shit. You guys on some simple shit talking about, oh man, you saw the game. I don't give a fuck about no goddamn game, dog. Shit, I don't give a damn about no sports. Maybe some badminton here and there. But no, I care about the truth, you know. But that goes to show you a clear separation of the Lord doesn't want, Jake to wake up. To them it is folly. Right? I'm gonna put out another precept. Still recovering from sickness. So there's that. But I did the 6th chapter, verse 9. It doesn't make the mention that actually, verse 8. Also, I heard the voice of the Lord, whom shall I send, and whom will go for us? And I said, here am I. Send me. And he said, go and tell this people, hear ye indeed, but understand not, and see ye indeed, but perceive not. Make the heart of this people fat, and make their ears heavy, and shut their eyes, lest they see with their eyes and hear with their ears and understand with their heart and convert and be healed. Heart means mind, right? So you're imparting the knowledge. It may go into their mind. They may what's it called contemplate. They may think about it like, interesting. And what's it called? Make their ears heavy. You're filling their ears up. All these words like, oh, very interesting. But in the end, it will come to naught. It's all vain. It's vanity. It'll just disappear. It'll be as though as it never even taught them in the first place, because they are not meant to receive it. That's why the Heavenly Father, well, I wish I made the mention now, and shut their eyes that they may, lest they see. The Lord don't want you to see and realize, and hear with their ears and understand with their heart and convert and be healed. So He doesn't want that. Then said I, Lord, how long? And He answered unto the cities be wasted without inhabitant, and the houses without man, and the land be utterly desolate. That's future prophecy going with the destruction. The Lord don't want to fucking say, the rest of you can't argue with the Lord, man. That's the Lord. He talking about what's it called? The Heavenly Father, Yahweh Shai. Can't want to argue with the craftsman. No, I'm gonna pull out a quick piece of point into that. The pottery, not the potter. KJV. Isaiah 45:9. Woe unto him, woe meaning death and destruction, grief, lamentation, sorrow fall upon you. Woe unto him that striveth with his maker, capital M, referring to Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. Let the potsherd strive with the potsherds of the earth. So the clay say to him that fashioneth it, what makest thou? orthotic word. He had no hands. What's it called? And who's the one that fashions us? Yahweh Hashem Shai. He fashions us in the womb. One of the great men of the Lord, right? And one of the LA camps had proclaimed how, I'm perfect. He says he's perfect, right? Long I'm gonna paraphrase what he said, right? Somewhere along the lines. He basically mentioned, "Now I'm perfect. The way the Lord designed me. That's the way He saw fit. Therefore I'm perfect." Now, obviously, we know, true perfection comes with the celestial bodies, or the spiritual bodies, immortal, godly, heavenly bodies, and this is just corrupt, vain, temporary flesh. But in as much we are perfected because the Lord thought it good. He designed us the way He did. With our flaws, with our quirks. It's not symmetrical. Proportions and whatnot. What's it called? But that's how we designed it. Right? It's a recipe. What's it called? That's where you get the genotype, the phenotype crap. I'm gonna break it down and that stuff. So I'm going ChatGPT because they can break it down easy. So difference between genotype and phenotype and layman's, which means layman's terms basically means like in the most simple way. Genotype is the blueprint, the instructions, the recipe written in your DNA. You do not see it, you inherit it, and it sits there quietly telling your body what could happen. Eye color options, high potential, hair type, all that background code. Now, the phenotype is what actually shows up, the finished product that people can point at. Your real eye color, how tall you ended up, whether you're bald or have a lion's mane. This is genotype plus life doing what life always does. Short version, genotype, what you're born with on paper. Phenotype, what you end up with through life. So genotype can be interpreted as a recipe, the instructions, the written stuff. The phenotype is the actual cake itself, the actual product, the byproduct. Then it's for you see the phenotype, but you mostly call it the instructions, the genotype, which you can't see. That was brought to you by Yahweh Bashmel Shai. As a matter of fact, man, what's it called? I'm gonna pull out a quick precept, man. This is in the book of Jeremiah, the first chapter, verse 5. And this is the Heavenly Father, Yahweh Shai, speaking to the prophet Jeremiah. Before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee. Before I formed thee. The Lord saying He formed, Jeremiah in the womb, which destroys, that main interpretation that the woman creates life. She don't bring forth life. Her what's it called? Eggs are always down. What's it called? Really, the man, what's it called? Holds, the portal of life. If you will, what's it called? Testes, man. You ejaculate copulate into a woman. What's it called? That sperm ends up going into what's it called? Within the vulva, if you will, and then you got that spark of light when the sperm fertilizes the egg, and what's it called? You end up having what's it called? Embryo, fetus, and then born child, right? But it's the Lord that forms in the womb. And keep in mind, the Lord's thoughts are higher than our thoughts per time. That's what Isaiah the 55 chapter. He doesn't just focus on one single thing. The Lord could multitask. We can't. We could only task switch. Right? We switch tasks, and then we revert back to them. We call that multitasking, but that's not really multitasking. Multitasking is hard. Multitasking is the equivalent of singing a song or playing an instrument. It takes time to master that, but the Lord is doing that on a celestial scale. He's doing that with billions of spirits, with trillions of spirits, man. He has eyes everywhere. He's focusing on everything. That's how great our Lord is. Yahweh Ba'ashim Shai cannot be what's it called topped. He is top. He's the top. He's the most high. You gotta put that in your little puny minds, man. What was it called? Before thou came as forth out of the womb, I sanctified thee and ordained thee a prophet to the nations. Not only does he, create. Not only does he, organize your instruction. He organizes your purpose. He made Jeremiah a prophet. Right? What's it called? I digress though. Continuing on. Yeah, I really digress. Time out to Isaiah 45:9. Shall the clay say to him that fashioneth him will make it stop? No, you can't argue with the Lord, man. Let the Lord cook. Just put the fries in the bag and let the Lord cook, man. Simple as that. Right, time back to Isaiah 6 and 10. Then said I, Lord, how long? And he answered, unto the seas be wasted without inhabitant, the house without man, the land be utterly desolate. Okay, but I'm going to tie it back to Obadiah 1 and 1. And an ambassador to them and the heathen arrived. That's like it. See, now I have to jump back to what's it called, Matthew the 24th chapter. That's the priest coming to get out. So like it. Then I'll tie back to Obadiah. So Matthew 24 and 31, and he shall send his angel of the great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds. Four winds don't mean what's it called. There's one right here, one right there, one right there. No, because you look at what's it called, satellite views. You got wind curling around. You have areas like currents, wind all over the place, more than freaking four. Really, when the scriptures make the mention four winds or corners, right? What's it called? Pertains to the compass, northwest, southeast. Really, four winds mean all directions, four directions, northwest, southeast. Never eat soggy waffles, which we've been taught in school. Which don't eat soggy waffles because I prefer actually if you microwave your waffles, they're gonna be soggy, but you just let it dry for a bit. But I digress. From one end of heaven to the other, right? Well, heaven meaning the firmament in this case, right? So, yeah, one point, we got another point. He's over here in Japan, or he's over here. This elect man is in what's it called? Venezuela, all this man of the Lord's and Britain, and so on and so forth, right? So Jake is scattered everywhere. That's not time back to Obadiah. Right. So again, ambassadors and the heathen, right? They're scattered about. They said, hey, time back to Isaiah 34. Time back to Isaiah 34, man. Shit, don't pull that out right now. All right, so verse 1, come near ye nations to hear and hearken ye people, let the earth hear and all that is there in the world and all things that come forth of it, right? So not only just the nation of Israel, though this first and foremost predominantly directed to the nation of Israel, it also makes the mention, ye people, therefore all nations, man. And you had Carl Tuckerson, whom I quoted. He actually pulled up to one of the GMS camp. I think it was a main camp. Right? He was speaking to the apostles. There's that one video right there on YouTube. You can search it up, man. Yeah, everybody pull up, man. What's it called? Yeah, even had like a famous basketball player, I think it was, some famous Jake. Pull up because his Edomite friend had a question, and they pull up to one of the camps and they're inquiring. Inquiries, man. People know what's it called, the prophets of the Lord. They them, man. They them. I know they're them. All right. That's why there's respect to the prophets themselves, right? How many nations still, right? It gets to the point where what's it called? You have the little ballot, little ballot, what's it called? Like the little Ammonite thing that they do. It's not respect. Hey, you even have what's it called? What's it called? What's that one small hat? Not Post Malone. You have vocab Malone one time. What's it called? Truthfully bow down. What's it called? It was like the apostles, man. But that was before that order went out where, you see vocab Malone called the cops. But it was before that. He literally bowed down, And that goes to show you he knows what's up, man. He knows what's up. Though he had a thing against, those men of the Lord. Right? Because there's you can see their spirit. You could see their spirit off the bat. Those are the men of the Lord. Starting off with, I believe the elder apostle Tahar, elder apostle Gabar, Aran Labracha, right, so on and so forth. All those men, those are the prophets, man. There is going to be respect. Speaking of which, there's a preacher that came to mind. I forget the priest. That was a Sirach. I'm gonna show up in the web browser. All right, okay. Shit, Ecclesiasticus 44 and 1. You reverse that 144. 144,000 is the what? Prophets. And I believe those men are the prophets, man. The Lord made that designation, that number. He made it to where that precept, that specific precept, ended up being Ecclesiasticus 44 and 1. Yeah, look, you gotta let the Lord cook, man. He designed all this, man. And what's it called? He is a power of knowledge. And First Samuel 2nd chapter, let's make that mention. What was the power of knowledge? Well, you make. You see it, man. I can't even speak right now. I'm out here studying it. I'm already studying. Sirach 44:1. Let us not praise famous men and our fathers that begat us. Right? The Lord had wrought great glory by them through his great power from the beginning. Right? Such as did bear rule in their kingdoms, men renowned for their power, giving counsel by their understanding and declaring prophecies. Right, those be the prophets. Leaders of the people by their counsels and by their knowledge of learning. Meet for the people, wise and eloquent in their instructions, man. Right, so you read the whole thing, man. That sounds great, man. And best believe they're gonna be worshipped in the kingdom too, right? Yahweh Shai, the man of the Lord. Oh, wait, man. The nine, right? The whole nine. And also, what does nine represent? New beginning, new life. The kingdom is a new beginning. Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. Second Ezra 6:9. 9, verse 9. It's right there. It's just like how what's it called? The Ecclesiasticus, aka Sirach 40:1 pertains to the prophets and 144,000 of the prophets. So is Second Ezra 6:9, which 9 represents the beginning, makes the mention. Jacob is the beginning of that follow. Oh my god. You cannot tell me that is not great. That is great. Oh my gosh. Like, oh man, like, oh, like. Anyways, continuing on. Arise ye and let us rise up against her in battle. Right? We have heard a rumor. What is this rumor in America? Hey, arise, let up let us being plural for a conglomerate of people rise against who? Against meaning, so there's two definitions of against. Yeah, what's it called? You facing this person, oh, he was against this person, they're smooshing, or this person is against that person. They're opposite sides. There's a conflict. They're tension, fighting each other. Behold, I have made thee small among the heathen. Thou art greatly despised. People are starting to see America for what it really is. Starting, no, starting doesn't do it justice. It's been that way. You've been seeing for years now. People have been starting to see it. People have been seeing America for what it really is. Right? Time out to it. I want Priest and Revelation went. I'm gonna pull it out. The book of Revelation, the 13th chapter, verse 11. It had two horns like the lamb, and he spake as a dragon. Right? Remember the apostle used a precept to emphasize how, what's it called? America portrayed itself as this comely little country. Oh, please come to me. Next thing you know, Robin is itself freaking, draconian decrees and went out. America's corrupt, man, wicked as hell. For like his iron rusteth, so doth his wickedness. Right, but jumping down to Obadiah, I want to jump down to Verse 7, the point right there, the point. All the men of thy confederacy I brought thee even to the border, the men that were at peace. Confederacy, what does the definition of confederacy mean? What's it called? Well, let's search it up. Confederate, what does it mean? Confederacy, confederation, right? Confederate, right? All right, the definition, joined by an agreement or treaty. What? Confederate means joined by an agreement or treaty. Okay, let me just search something right now. What does NATO mean? The North Atlantic Treaty Organization, an intergovernmental military alliance between 32 member states, 30 in Europe and 2 in North America. Founded in the aftermath of World War II, NATO was established with the signing of the North Atlantic Treaty in 1949. What's a confederacy again? What's a confederacy again? Joined by an agreement or treaty. All the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread laid a wound on thee. There is no one understanding in him. What's it called? I searched up NATO to look at the true name of it, and I just saw that news article pop out. Murphy says U.S. annexation of Greenland would be the end of NATO. People have been saying that for the past couple of days now. Well, because why? Now it's an attack on a NATO member because as we know, Greenland is a territory of Denmark. Yeah, what's it called? Some years ago, they were talking about the Greenland was expressing potential, independence. They were talking about how, hey, we could be independent, it's time for us to, what's it called, leave Denmark and whatnot. Well, that ain't gonna happen, and especially more so now, with what's it called, you being a territory to Denmark and Denmark being a NATO member, and you trying to get the help. What's it called? Bear with me right quick. NATO's Article 5 is a cornerstone of its collective defense, stating that an armed attack against one member in Europe or North America is considered an attack against all, obligating each member to assist the attacked party, including U.S. armed forces, to restore security. Right. um, Time back to the news article. Murphy says he was in a station in Greenland would be the end of NATO. Uh, Senator Chris Murphy says Sunday that the U.S. is moving to take Greenland by force would mark the end of NATO. It would be the end of NATO, Murphy said on NBC's Meet the Press when asked by host Kristen Welker what such move would result in. The Connecticut Democrat who serves on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee know that other NATO countries would be required to defend Greenland, right? What's it called? With the case like I mentioned earlier, Germany. Germany, the public has also expressed support for, Greenland. President Trump, noted that other NATO countries would be required to defend Greenland, pitting the U.S. against longtime allies such as the UK and France. President Trump has again shown interest in acquiring the semi-autonomous because they've been speaking about potential independence, right? Because they're in a sense autonomous, autonomy, agency. What does autonomy and agency mean? Okay. A quick search. Autonomy is the freedom to choose for oneself, self-rule, while agency is the ability or capacity to act on those choices and influence its outcome. Right? So semi meaning partly, because again it's a territory of Denmark. So Danish, the semi-autonomous Danish territory in recent weeks arguing the island is essential to national security. President Trump has again shown interest in acquiring this territory, arguing the island is essential to national security. The U.S. has operated, Pitofik space base in Greenland since 1943. Well, what does that actually read right there? Again, that dwelling shall be the fattest of the earth, which obviously was a code. Still, nonetheless, that was all my territory, regardless, because Denmark is my country. The president also has not ruled out the use of military force to take over Greenland, although the White House press secretary Caroline Leavitt or Levitt, I'm not sure if I pronounced that last name, and Secretary of State Marco Rubio noted earlier this week that diplomacy is the administration's first option. Well, what's it called? That's equal, right? Diplomacy. But if that not be the case, then obviously no, that's gonna be a factor in World War III. um, Rubio was set to meet, and there's no wonder as to why it happened on the 3rd of January 2026 because it be this year, man. The end, I'll be all right. That third whoa. Rubio is set to meet with Danish officials coming this week. Right. Greenlandic Prime Minister Jens Frederik Nielsen and four-party leaders said Friday this island's future must be decided by the Greenlandic people, according to the Associated Press. Right, what's it called? That followed Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen telling Danish broadcaster TV2 on Monday that an American attack on Greenland would end NATO and alliance formed in 1949 in the wake of World War II. If the U.S. chooses to attack another NATO country militarily, everything stops. Right. Now, there's a certain image I want to bring out. Actually, I'm going to pull out the preset first. Revelation 12. Right. Was it the whole chapter? I'm so lucky. Um, Revelation, the 17th chapter. Verse 16, and the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, thee shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire. Now, there's a certain image I want to pull out regarding this precept. It is this poster. The beast with 7 heads and 10 horns is NATO. The 7 heads equals 7 governments or kingdoms ruled by Esau. Revelation 17 and 1, the great whore is America. Full of names of blasphemy, right? The Germanian Major, the Romans, the French, the Spanish, Germanian Minor, the British, the Greeks. 10 horns represent the common market or the European Economic Community, EEC for short, established in 58. Today, the EEC is known as the EU, the European Union. And number one, you got Belgium, two, Denmark, so on and so forth. It's France, Italy, Luxembourg, Netherlands, Greece, Spain, and Portugal, England, and Ireland, West Germany, right? NATO is an acronym for North Atlantic Treaty Organization. It was established August 4, 1949, consisting of 19 nations: Greece, Italy, Spain, France, West Germany, United Kingdom, Portugal, Belgium, Netherlands, Luxembourg, Canada, Norway, Denmark, Iceland, Turkey, United States, Poland, Hungary, Czech Republic. These nations make up NATO, which is the beast. And what's it called? Well, then you have the 10 horns, man, right? Part of what's it called? That beast, man. What then? What does that? What does this insinuate? All in all, leads to what's it called? NATO betraying the whore. We've been saying that for years, right? So I'm gonna reread it again. Did I ever play out? And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, thee shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire. Now, the precept I want to pull out regarding that notion is the book of Jeremiah. um, the 51st chapter, verse 1. Thus, actually, I wanna continue on with my news before I get this precept out. So going back for the 11th, there was something I wanted to make the mention on the war/conflict sector, and it's that the Indian Navy is preparing to commission a record 19 warships in 2026, the largest number inducted in a single year in its history, reflecting accelerated fleet expansion and strengthening maritime capabilities. These additions are part of a long-term plan to build a more capable blue water navy through democratic shipbuilding with multiple stealth frigates and modern surface combat tents, enhancing India's operational reach and regional deterrence posture in the Indo-Pacific. Right, so you're starting to see how a lot of people are being mustered up for the battle. So before I pull out the book of Jeremiah, the 51st chapter, I want to pull out the book of Isaiah, the 13th chapter. Um, actually, yeah. I prefer this over pulling out Jeremiah 51. Jeremiah 51 is also a good chapter. It goes into American getting burned, but I feel like Isaiah 13 just gets to the point. It's more concise. In this circumstance, Jeremiah concise meaning it's more consolidated. Like the verses are more straight to the point in this case. Um, so Isaiah the 13th chapter verse. Uh, mm, 4. I didn't look at it. I didn't see it. So um. Isaiah 13 and 4, the noise of a multitude in the mountains, like as of a great people, a tumultuous noise of the kingdoms of nations gathered together. The Lord of hosts mustereth the host of the battle. Lord of hosts, host meaning military, in Spanish it means el Señor de los Ejércitos, ejército meaning military, right? Army. So, Lord of hosts. Exodus 15 and 3, the scriptures make the mention how the Lord is a man of war, right? So the general himself, Yahweh Shai, is mustering the hosts, of the battle. What host? The heathen militaries, man. And just like how you got, all these heathen generals, mustering, their militaries to, get ready for war. Well, who's the ultimate general? Yahweh Bashar, he's the one out here was commanding uh, these heathen generals, and thence ordering the lesser, lesser rank, military personnel to get ready to muster. What does muster mean? Um, assemble troops, especially for inspection or in preparation for battle. Right. Beat the swords and the plowshares. Joel the third chapter. Um, I think I saw. They come from a far country from the end of heaven, even the Lord, and the weapons of his indignation to destroy the whole land. Weapons of his indignation pertaining to the ICBMs, the NLBL for America. Now, I'm gonna jump down to 19. And Babylon, the glory of kingdoms. Babylon, America. Mystery Babylon. What was it called? Mystery Babylon the Great. And going back to 2016, which is shit, 10 years ago. What's it called? A campaign with Trump talking about what's it called? Make America Great again. It's a keyword. Men of the Lord have made that mention, made that notion. You know, that's going to show you it is a form of, it is a testament testifying against itself that it is America is Babylon. And Babylon, the glory of kingdoms. Yeah, because this is the glory of kingdoms. It's the freaking great whore. Great whore arrayed in fine scarlet. All fancy. Like, oh yeah, I'm her. A woman to be desired, right? A woman to be ravished with, right? What's it called? That's where you have the heathen nations drinking that Babylon juice, right? Make that profit, that moolah. The, the beauty of the beauty of the Chaldees excellency, which we know Chaldees in this case, yeah, because historically speaking, the Chaldees means elite. Chaldees in this case pertains to what's called top banking families. They are the elite, right? What's it called? The Malachites, man. The elite. What's it called? Rich families. Right? What's it called? Which your top banking family is not conspiracy fucking theory. You search up the top banking family, they're gonna freaking see their names, right? Yeah, list of banking families: Rothschilds, Rockefellers, Morgans, the DuPonts, so on and so forth, man. Right? So it's no lie. It's no lie. Um, who was I? Right? Hey, wrong chapter. Slovakia. I took it off an accident. The leader of the Chaldees' excellency shall be as when Yahweh Bahasham Yahushai overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. But as the other apostles around, I made the mention, the Lord, what's it called, combine the elements in the heaven, what's it called, to cast down fire, burning with brimstone. But in this context, in this case, in this circumstance, in this tense, in this present date, it's going to be the ICBMs, intercontinental ballistic missiles. Right? It shall never be inhabited, neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation, neither shall the Arabian pitch tent there, neither shall the shepherds make their fold there. But wild beasts of the desert shall lie there, and their houses shall be full of doleful creatures, and owls shall dwell there, and satyrs shall dance there. And what does it mean by that? Well, because it's going to be so desolate, the only thing that's going to be living in that in this forsaken desert is going to be the animals. Which again, the Lord cooks, man. The Lord thoughts are higher than our thoughts. He created creature to endure and adapt to every freaking what's it called environment. What's it called? I'm gonna put you on something. Desert creatures: camels, fennec, foxes, coyotes, scorpions, snakes, lizards, kangaroo rats, roadrunners, you name it. These types of creatures are gonna thrive in this area. Hey, because as the other Apostle Gabar said some years ago in the winter, some winters ago, it is currently winter right now, but some winters ago, I think it was December, I think it was 2020, I forget. He was in Central Park doing a walking talk, lesson, and it was snowy and cold. He was out here like I think it was like little muffler things, in the ears. Like he was dressed right. What was it called? For the cold weather. But he was making the mention how all this cold will cease to exist. It will be a freaking hot, desolate wilderness, and that's true. Right? You got turtles out here that drink water once and they're set for a certain period of time, man. So what's it called? It's gonna be so desolate and dry. You're gonna have animals that thrive in that type of environment. Pop out right here. Desert tortoises, Gila monsters, red spotted toads. Kit foxes. You name it. That's stalker scorpions, man. At death, keyword death. What is place known as? What's it called? The shadow of death. And what's it called? So it only makes sense. The implication, maybe. Um, but, all right. Shall dance during the wild beasts of the island shall cry in their desolate houses and dragons in their pleasant houses. Doesn't mean crying the cry in the weeping sense. More so, just howling like animals make sounds, man. Basically means a yell. When you hear a dog bark, that's basically them crying. When you hear a cat meow, that's basically them crying like meow meow. Right, what's it called? You got that constant war cry. When people go out to what's it called battle, they ain't out here talking about ready as for war. No, no, no. They always talking about are you guys ready? Hoorah, right? That's what's it called. That's a war cry. That's a chant. So it basically means you're gonna be basically speaking, and the island and the wild beasts of the island shall basically speak in other terms. Shall cry in their desolate houses and dragons in their pleasant palaces. And their time is near to come, and their days shall not be prolonged. It shall not be prolonged. This is the reality. This is the fate of what's coming because Scripture saying in the book of Habakkuk, the second chapter. Well, I mean, let's put it out. Okay. Habakkuk, the second chapter, verse. Why is it going like that? Okay. 3. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come and will not tarry. Basically, what it means is that, it looks like it's going to take a long time. It's really not a long time. I mean, not only that, but we speculated the concept of perception of time. I wouldn't say speculate. I think the other person around said don't speculate. It's not wise. I wouldn't say speculate. Actually, it's like more so. Isn't that what's it called? Plausible. What's it called? Perception of time, because time at the Second Peter 3:8 makes the I'm mistaken. It makes a mention how a day in the Lord's eyes is about 1,000 years for us. And I remember the other apostle Ron made a calculation going into what's it called? You divide up 1,000 years, 24 hours, so on and so forth. At the end, you get like 42. Actually, I forget the math. I know I have it in my notes. I have it in my notes. Might not pull it out, will I have the chance? Um. Okay. Um. All right, Genesis 1, and if I could find it. Okay. For 1 and 3, contrary to growing belief, this created light does not specifically for. No, I'm slacking not the right one. Slacking not the right one. Slacking not the right one. I'm looking at my notes right now. Right, so Genesis 1 and 5. And the evening and the morning were the first day. In this modern world, the day runs from midnight to midnight, 12 a.m., but traditionally it runs from sundown to sundown. Time is determinate on the sun, which is the even/evening. Generally, a day lasts about 24 hours, but from the Heavenly Father's perspective, is considered 1,000 years, as stated in 2 Peter 3:8. Dividing 1,000 years into 24 hours equates to 41.66667. Or you could just round it up. The Lord doesn't deal with numbers, right? He doesn't deal with numbers, so it's not that important. No, more so just like a given estimate or a rounded number. The Lord rounded numbers, so you could just say 42 years. Which, when rounded, gives a total of about 42 years per hour. The reason why it's rounded to the nearest tenth is because the Heavenly Father does not deal with exact numbers in the way humans do. This is why we are given general time frames rather than precise ones in the scriptures. Um, an example could be the first 1,000 years. It really wasn't 1,000, strict years. More so, it was like 1123 years old. 1123, 1,123 years of rulership before, 1453, they collapsed by way of the Ottoman Turks. But that's for another topic. Um, Next, dividing 42 years by 60 minutes gives us approximately zero point 0.7 years or 8 months and 12 days per minute. This means that for every 8 months and 12 days that pass on earth, it equals 1 minute to the Heavenly Father. A piece of advice at the estimates. They are simply no, they are simple. A brother whose name I will not mention once told me that simplicity is part of our culture. Okay, yeah, so a perception of time. For the Lord, shit's happening, ASAP, ASAP, right? What's it called? But for us, it feels like a long time, but really it's not. Henceforth, White House, I made the mention, they that endures to the end shall be saved, right? Because you have to, abide by it, stick by it, So again, though it tarry, meaning delay, just stagnant a bit, it's not really tarry, right? Though it tarry, wait for it because it will surely come. It will not tarry, right? You gotta wait for it. So America, being destroyed, it is future prophecy. We must wait on it. But with that being said, I hope the lesson was edifying. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to the Heavenly Father and His only begotten Son, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem HaRachakodash, the ones, the apostles, and others at Great Millstone who were well and have taught us this 100% truth. Much peace and blessings be unto you, hopeful. He led the person out this word of thought, truth, and sincerity. To all you welcome, I do say shalom.